Well, boys and girls, they said it couldn't be done. They said that Dawn of War, Soulstorm, and all the mods around it, dead in the water. You'll never see an update for them ever again for the rest of your life. And you know what? I was one of those people. I genuinely thought that Dawn of War would never see any kind of loving in the future, and we were just left to make our own devices as far as things go. But no, Definitive Edition, that's a thing, and it's happening, and it's been coming out fairly soon, so that's pretty exciting stuff. And I thought to myself, well, you know what? I've been doing Dawn of War casting for about 3 years, 3.5 years, something like that. I've got a fair few ideas of what could be done, and some tweaks and twists and turns that could be added to the game to maybe make it more, you know, modern friendly and certainly better from a casting perspective. So this is an open letter to Relic. Now, I don't know anyone from Relic. I don't talk to anyone from Relic. In fact, I don't really talk to anyone, to be honest. I like to be in my little cave at home, minding my own gosh darn business. So yes, I'm making an open letter. Maybe they'll see it, maybe they won't. Maybe you've got some ideas that you want to throw down in the comments and stuff. All good fun. I just think it also, as well, is an interesting video topic to do, which is different from our normal content that we do on the channel. So yeah, so some ideas, mainly for the replay section, but I've also got some ideas for the actual game itself. Now, first and foremost, this playback nonsense going on here. Get rid. We don't need it. We know it's playback. We know. Well, I mean, I know it's not live, so you know we don't necessarily need that. Nice, easy fix for you right there. But one really good thing that I would absolutely love to see is things to do with the team colours. Now, imagine, right? So I have got a Space Marine player down here. He is bright green. That is lovely. I've got a Space Marine player up here. He is bright red. That is fine and dandy. When these guys start fighting each other, I know the difference between them. Red versus green. But let's say, for example, some games you're casting. One of them might be yellow. One of them might be a slightly orangey kind of yellow, which is very hard to differentiate in a game. Also, when we've got these 3 versus 3 scenarios, and let's say, for example, you know what, we've got Eldar, Necrons, and Space Marines versus Tau, Orcs, and the Space Marines down here. In the early game, very easy to differentiate. We know who is who. But in the maybe like 25-30 minute mark when there's a million things going on, it's sometimes hard to identify who's on what team. Who is on Team 1, who is on Team 2. One thing that I would really, really like to see is a wee button down here, or maybe we take this whole section from here and stick it somewhere up here like they do in Dawn of War 2. But just a button just to toggle team colours. So like, Team 1 is red, Team 2 is blue. And then, okay, right, in the big games and in the big fights, we toggle the colours on so we know who's fighting who. And then when things calm down and we want to see these lovely colour schemes that the teams have decided to go for, then, you know, toggle that back off. That would be my absolute #1 thing that I would like to see from a casting/replay perspective. Another thing, it would be really, really cool if we had the ability to rewind, or at the very least slow stuff down. I mean, let's say, for example, we've got a scenario going on here. Necron Lord teleporting around. We've got a snare going on. We've got a big mech teleporting as well. Maybe I've got some comments that I would like to make about the tactics that are being used by players. There's too much going on at this moment. Or maybe with the you know, there's now nothing much going on. So I want to slow things down, break things down a little bit. If I can slow things down, then, you know, I've got more time to basically explain tactics for, especially for the new players that want to know how things are done and such. So the ability to slow down and rewind, especially rewinding for the Ultimate Apocalypse games. Let's say 50 minutes into a game, it looks like there's going to be a nuke going on. But there's also like loads of action. I don't know, let's say, for example, Space Marine player over here is going to nuke Space Marine player down here. But there is a really close, intense fight between the Orcs and the Eldar down here. I don't want to miss a thing. I'm zoomed in. I'm doing this. Maybe I'm looking back this way to make sure that I can see that the nuke isn't going off yet. But let's say, for whatever reason, I've missed a nuke. The only way I can re-watch that nuke is by basically reloading the cast and then fast-forwarding it, waiting literally about 20 minutes, and then having to sit here and wait for it. Which, as a man as busy as I am, is a real big pain in the backside. But if I could rewind like 30 seconds, then we could just have like an instant replay of, oh, blimey, look at this. Nuke goes off, everyone's having fun. So yes, ability to rewind there would be pretty darn amazing. Now, let's say we have got a really cool battle going on. I don't know, we've got the Guardians over here, and they're being lambasted by the stealth suit team here. Let's just pretend it's really, really fun and interesting, this little engagement going on. Now, if I wanted to see more of it, obviously I can zoom in, I can spin around and all this stuff. I can even toggle this taskbar. But we've still got all this gumph going on as well. It'd be really, really cool if I had some sort of hotkey that would allow me to basically get rid of all of this stuff at the flick of a wrist. And then once we've seen all the action, I can then press it again, and all this stuff comes back up as well. You know, I mean, don't get me wrong, like, this is fine. This is fine. I don't ever use it, mainly because, you know, it's like a Control-H, and I've got a big old microphone in front of my face, and I'm also an old man, and can't remember where the hotkeys are, so pressing Control-H is a bit of a pain for me. I should really learn, but you know what? I'm a stubborn old man. Leave me alone. Okay, so that is the HUD, getting rid of that. Another thing that would be super duper useful, like really, incredibly useful for every single player, not only for replays, but also for people actually playing in the game. Let's say, for example, Fire Warrior team, they have had their weapon upgrade to make them do more damage at range. It'd be really nice if we had some icons on their little unit cards that told not only the player who controls them, but also the opponent players what upgrades that they have got. And if you hover over them, it tells you exactly what the upgrade does. That way, let's say, for example, the Dark Reapers have got their upgrade, but the Fire Warriors do not have their upgrade. Now, you can look and, you know, double-check the range damage. That will tell you if the upgrade has happened or not. But, in a pinch, when there's, like, a million things to think about, having that little icon there would be super-duper useful. Also, when I'm thinking about it, this is mainly more for games like Ultimate Apocalypse and Unification, where there are, like, 151 different upgrades that you can get for a unit. And so, you know, I, as a caster who's been casting, like I say, for about three and a half years, I don't know what all the abilities do. I don't know what all the upgrades do. So having like a little thing where I can double check who's got what strengths and such would be absolutely fantabulous. On the topic of the unit cards as well, I've said it before, I'll say it again, I've also been told about this many a time. These numbers mean sweet bugger all. Like, don't get me wrong, this is like the base damage, but the damage that they do is, like, different depending on who they fire at. Now, I have no idea how you could make this more accurate, but if there was a way to make it more accurate, that would be absolutely phenomenal. We've also got this thing where, like, different units, when they've got certain buffs, they've got, like, little symbols that come up that tell you if they've got, like, a increase of strength, increase of whatever, you know, based on auras and stuff. It would be nice if, rather than just, like, random... Well, there's not random symbols, are there? They are consistent symbols across all factions. But it would be nice if, like, say, for example, there's a chaplain nearby for Space Marines, and they're all getting a health regen boost. That'd be nice to have a little chaplain symbol here, hover over it saying, yes, you've got the health regen boost, all is happy, all is well. So, yeah, that'd be a thing in my mind that would be remarkably useful. Another thing as well that would be stupidly good is if I was able to say, for example, there's a machine cult. I've clicked on the machine cult, and for the life of me, for whatever reason, I can't remember as a caster. I know I should remember, but I'm a terrible person, old man, bad memory. And again, for Ultimate Apocalypse and Unification, where we're seeing factions that we don't see very often, it'd be really, really useful if you select the machine cult, and either on this little doodad right here, or in this little window over here, it shows you all the units and all the upgrades you are able to get from that building. Hover over it, you see the unit cost, the production time, whatever, maybe a little description of the unit itself. That would be absolutely, like, I can't tell you how much that would be useful from a casting perspective. Also bear in mind as well that people do also watch their own replays to see where they've gone wrong in a game. You know, maybe you've played the game, you're not sure why you have lost or won, so you rewatch it, and maybe you're a Necron main, you're going up against Dark Eldar. I think Dark Eldar is one of the least played factions in Soulstorm, so being able to, look at all the buildings and say, okay, well, in this building they get this, and this one they get that, that would also be remarkably, tremendously useful. Now, one other thing, this is the last thing I think for the ideas that I have for the replay side of things, is the ability to hotkey things. Now, if I am watching from the Space Marine perspective, I can press Control and, let's say, 3, and if I double tap 3, that then makes me follow this land speeder. Remarkably useful. If I forget where a unit is, maybe the Force Commander, although I don't need to use it for the Force Commander, he's got a handy dandy portrait over here. But let's say there's, I don't know, a Grey Knight squad that I want to follow. Hotkey the Grey Knight squad, then no matter what action is going on over here, I can then double press a thing. It brings me back over. Really, really useful. However, if I go over to the Orc side of things and then start double pressing the buttons, it does not work. So that's not great for me. It would be handy if that hotkey feature was consistent all the way across the board. Be remarkably useful. And yeah, I suppose one other thing that I've just thought of just now. The Laughing Max, he does this on his casts. I don't because, as I mentioned before, terrible old man, very, very lazy. What he'll do is that when he's doing a cast, he's able to see all the economies on his players by basically re-recording it a couple of times and sticking, let's say for example, he cuts the Orc economy here, and then, I don't know, maybe there's a tower player, and then sticks the Orc economy underneath. So all times we know exactly when, exactly what economies everyone has. In a replay, it would be nice if there was, I don't know, like a little bar up here telling you what economies people had, and then you could get rid of it. Or maybe over here, because, I mean, obviously if I'm asking you to move this stuff over here, then might get a bit cluttered, might not. And again, my opinions, I'm just throwing all the ideas out. I'm not expecting anyone to take any of them seriously, to be honest. But yeah, those are the thoughts that are going on in my brain for the replays. I don't think I've got anything else at the moment. I will come back to it if I do remember. So let's go on to what I think about the game as a whole, in general. Okay, so we've talked about all the things that I think should be done in replays and such. But this part, I would say, is mainly for, like I said, the game at large. What we could do to make the game experience better for the average Joe, the average player, the everyday man, shall we say. Now, there are a few things, but just before I mention them, I do want to say that I think that this is going to be, one, the best introduction to an RTS that a lot of people will find on the market at the moment. And two, I think it's also one of the best introductions to Warhammer that most people have. Now, I've been playing this game since it first came out. I was 13 years old when this game was first released. I'm now 33 years old, so I've been playing for about 20 years, if my maths is correct. And it is absolutely stunning. Like, this is what got me into Warhammer. And, you know, it's what got me into RTSs. So, I think that if this is going to be the first contact for a new generation, shall we say, of Warhammer players and RTS players, we need to get this right. We need to get this absolutely bob on, just to maximise the longevity of not only this game, but also just Warhammer and RTSs of all varieties in the future. So, with that being said, I think that as much as humanly possible, everything possible needs to be done within game. Now, I come from a generation where when a game on your PC didn't work, what you would do is you would go onto a bunch of forums and you would then scroll through the said forums looking for ways to fix your game for whatever reason because it's not installing properly. And that was part of being a PC gamer back in the day. These days, however, it's all done through Steam. Vast majority of games work first click, and if you don't, there's people on Steam forums or whatever, or maybe there's a YouTube video to explain it to you. Now, the people brought up, now this is me sound like an old man again, but they're just not as resilient as us guys used to be. I mean, I'm not a technological whiz, but I've been able to get quite a lot of the mods work the vast majority of the time. So, if we can somehow make that easier for players to install, like say, for example, go onto the game manager. Now, this game manager does not work. Absolutely pants. If I went onto, I don't know, the unification mod right now, wouldn't work, and if it did, it would mess up all my resolution and stuff. But if we had some sort of Steam workshoppy thingamadoodad going on around here where we're able to download the games straight from the get-go and all that stuff, that would be absolutely phenomenal. Obviously, I know that some people have a problem sorting out the resolution and all that jazz, but obviously I imagine that you guys will be fixing that with this definitive edition. It goes without saying that things like the zoom out mod and the remove fog mod, I assume that that's going to be all in the game so that when you're not like zoom straight in, and if you do get a little bit of zoomed out or maybe you alter your camera a little bit, there's like loads of fogs of war and such, that's all fine. I'm not expecting anything like that. But having everything inside the game manager where you can actually manage your games and get all the mods and all the extra bits and bobs working, that would be phenomenal. Everything in-house would be great. Speaking of things being in-house, now, I didn't play the remaster of Age of Mythology, mainly because I'm a grown-up that doesn't have a lot of time to play very many video games. One RTS at a time, that's my bag. But I did see that when they remastered it, they had this wonderful section on the opening screen that basically had, like, how would I describe it? It's like, let's say, for example, you want to play the Greeks, but you don't know what all the units or gods do. So you click on a button, let's just say, for example, we'll just use Army Manager for an example, and there was like a Greek button. You'd click on them, and then a big menu would come up with all the gods and all the things and explaining how they all work. That would be absolutely phenomenal if we could have that for Dawn of War Soulstorm. And, you know, as an addition that the Unification and Ultimate Apocalypse and all the mod people can add to it. Mainly because, you know, Age of Mythology, that's, what, 4 factions, several different gods? That's quite complicated. StarCraft, that's 3 factions. You know, that's still fairly complicated. Soulstorm, 9 factions, right out of the box. That's a lot to get your head around. And of course, you can go on the Wikipedia. That's totally fine. But as I say, the modern generation, the young whippersnappers, not as resilient as and I mean this with as much love and respect as humanly possible, obviously. But, you know, as I say, if it's all in-game, you don't need to click away. They won't get distracted by TikToks or whatever. Oh, I don't know how to play Necrons, or oh, I keep on getting beat by Necrons. Let me have a look and see what all their shenanigans are about. Alright, okay, in Tier 3 they get this unit that's been really, you know, rinsing me out. Oh, I'll watch out for that one. That kind of thing. Oh, you know, in Unification, oh my goodness, I'm playing against Emperor's Children. Hecky flip, they've got like 15 million units. I wonder what they all do. Let me go through them one by one, piece by piece. That would be absolutely phenomenal. It would also be really good if in this little game manager, or maybe there could be like an addition of a replay manager inside one of these menus here. But, I mean, as I mentioned earlier on, some players like to watch replays of either themselves, or obviously they sometimes watch my channel to see how to get better at the game by watching high-skill players play. It'd be really, really nice if there was an option where you could click on something and then, like, every time a online game finishes, that replay is then automatically uploaded to like a menu. You could choose based on people's player ability. You know, maybe everyone's got like a CR rating or something, and you can say, okay, well, I want to see a CR 2000 player play Space Marines. I want to see how they do it without Mr. Landshark waffling on over the top. You know, being able to slow down, rewind, you know, really get to grips with how all those factions play and stuff. I think a replay downloading section would be stupidly good for new players particularly. Also, this is not like a major thing, but I know that everyone likes to have icons and stuff. I don't know, maybe there could be like a player profile page where it's like, oh, look at Mr. Landshark, and he's got the Space Marine logo on here, and he's got like a cool flavor text or something. That's not necessary, but I know people like that. You know, like a banner that you got from Call of Duty when you killed someone. It's like, yeah, you got pwned by this noob or whatever. Obviously, that's not a serious suggestion, but some people would definitely vibe with that. So okay, that's this menu. Other things. Now, I've got an idea for a campaign, but obviously this is, I don't know how viable this is. So take this with a grain of salt. I don't expect anyone to listen to this, but I've got a few ideas. So let me just load up a normal campaign. Let me just pick Imperial Guard because the boys love it. And let's say, right, okay, we have got this map. We've seen it a bajillion million times if you have played the campaign. Remember, click on something there.
Welcome to the single player.
Always annoys me, but you know, that's just a minor problem. Okay, so we have got this campaign, yeah? And we have seen this campaign a bajillion million times. One thing that would be really cool is if we were able to have a randomized campaign in which, oh, well, you know, the Imperial Guard always fight against the Sisters of Battle from the get-go. But wouldn't it be cool if, oh, well, in this campaign, we've moved him over here. And, oh, now we're up against the Dark Eldar. Or maybe, actually, the Dark Eldar are now over here. The Space Marines are over here. And so it's a whole different kettle of fish. I know that, say, for example, you press inspect, and it's got the archive. It's all chaosy and stuff. I get that there's not much you can really do about that. But, you know, just like randomized starting locations would keep the campaign a little bit more fresh for the old soldiers who've been playing this game a million squillion years. Or it might be a case, oh, well, I want to play a shorter campaign. Maybe it's like a one-planet thing where, you know, like in Dawn of War Dark Crusade, where it's like all one planet. Maybe you can decide, right, I want 10 places to hold, I want 3 factions alive on there, and I want, I don't know, maybe, because I know that some maps have got special things on there, maybe I want this doodad, I want a resource bonus, and I want, shit, that's a bad example, pardon my French, I was planning not to swear in this, but there we go. Are all the other ones? Or am I getting my games mixed up? Okay, fair enough, ignore me then, but you know what I mean? Maybe there's like, oh, you don't get a additional unit, you maybe get a bonus, and you can decide a random 3 of those 9 tiles you've chosen have that thing. Now, another idea that I've got, which is probably an incredible stretch that is probably not doable, but I'm going to say it anyway, just in case it is, and maybe it inspires some of the boffins at Relic, because I think it'd be a really, really good idea if it was doable. Could we make this multiplayer? Could we have, I don't know, like, I mean, obviously, 4 planets might be a bit too much. Like I say, 1 planet where someone plays an Imperial Guard, another person plays Sisters of Battle or Chaos or whatever, and it's like, kind of like, you know how Star Wars Battlefront 2, was it 2? The old one where you had that campaign and you played Rebels versus the Empire, or the clones versus the robot people. Not a Star Wars fan, I do apologise, but you know, you play a couple of games and, I don't know, maybe you capture the thing, which means that for the next game, you start with 400 extra blue money, or requisition resource, I apologise. Or, I don't know, you capture things, now you start with an extra thing, just to make, like, you know, your multiplayer games a little bit more interesting. Can't imagine a lot of the people who play with random people online would very much gel with that. But for people who, you know, like, they only play with their friends, you know, maybe a nice campaign like that, where you can get involved with your mates, would be a really, really good fun thing. Or, if that fails, right, if that is too much of a stretch, can't possibly do it, would it be possible if we had a campaign map that was offline, right? So kind of like what's going on here. But I could change things, right? So let's say I'm playing against my friend, right? And we're on this planet here. And it's my turn first. So I think, right, okay, I'm going to take my Imperial Guard, and I'm going to move to this section. It's an offline map. What I could do is I could drag this icon over there, and then if I win, then I could then change the colour of this to suit, to say that I've basically claimed this area. And then also, let's say that this place gives me the additional 100 requisition when starting. So when we go onto a random skirmish game, you know, online, I can then add that as a condition or a match thing for my game. So in that way, even though we can't do this whole map thing online, we can make the map offline. You know, I could then screenshot it, send it to my friend or whatever, and we could play via Discord like that. Or, you know, stuff like that. I mean, I know that we could probably do that already, you know, like you know, like with a bit of Photoshop wizardry and such, or maybe I could just put an X and or where I win and a 0 where he earns and such. But, you know, just an idea. You know, like I say, keep things in-game, make it more exciting for new players and such. Speaking of other game modes that we could do, there are a few more ideas that I've got, which... oh, no, sorry, I don't want to save that. Help! I don't know how I'm doing things. Right, there we go. Okay. I know how to play Dawn of War. That's a thing. So let's say, for example, I'm on... let's say... Actually, no, before I even say that, one thing I do want to say is we've got lots and lots of lovely free-player maps. But in OG Soulstorm, there's one free-player map. Now, I know that free players, it'll always be a free-for-all, or maybe a 2 versus 1, or something like that. Not the most popular number of players to play with. But there have been on several occasions where I've wanted to play a free-player free-for-all with people on Discord, and because they don't have all these extra maps that I've downloaded, they can't play it. And, you know, they can download it, but like I say, you know, if we're keeping with this philosophy of keeping everything in the game, having, I don't know, maybe developing more maps with free players, or just saying to these people who have made these free-player maps, hey, can we include your maps in the game? I think they would absolutely chomp at the bit for the opportunity. And I know that there's already loads of wonderful map makers in the Dawn of War community. So again, stick that in one of the downloadable things. Again, keeping it in game and all that such. So yeah, so one thing that I would really, really love to see is, let's say we have got all these maps here, right? And we've got, let's go for, I don't know, close quarters, just for example, right? So we've got all the options as usual. I can't really see much else to really change to this, except for, I don't know, maybe having different win conditions. I know that in Dawn of War 2, the victory point thing is quite popular, and I think that would obviously be quite popular in this game as well, so adding that as well. But one thing that, what's it called? I think it's Unification that do this really well, which is they've got the, not survival, although they do survival very well. It's called, it's in Dawn of War 2, and it's where you select a hero, and you're in a Colosseum, and it's like you go against waves and stuff, and you're able to upgrade your dudes. And obviously, that's a whole different game mode altogether, because in Dawn of War 2, you're able to equip your hero before going into a game with all these different weapons and stuff. But I think that'd just be a nice thing, again, more variety, and I think that'd be a relatively easy thing to incorporate in the actual professional release of stuff. But as I say, these ideas are, a bit far-flung. I don't expect them to be added in any way, shape, or form. I'm just shooting from the hip, as it were. But yeah, apart from more game rules and, stuff like that for the vanilla version, I can't really think of much else to do. This is fine. This is this is okay from my books. Maybe I was about to put these in alphabetical order, but they already are in alphabetical order. It's the other mods that don't put their factions in alphabetical order. So there we go. So that is a thing. Obviously, for skirmishing in multiplayer as well, one common problem that some people have is that when you change the map and the people already on it or something, then, they can't find the game. Maybe you're playing a 6-player game. 2 of your friends have joined. One player says, I don't want to play on this game, on this map, because it's, not favourable. It's not balanced map, so you change it. When you change it, your friends can't see it, but that's like technical stuff that I'm sure Relic will fix in the future. Army Painter. Everyone loves Army Painter. Everyone loves doing things. I have got, as part of my Army Painter, whole naughty word, look at that, the mighty Tigers up on the field, ready to bring glory and pain. I don't watch football. I don't watch football at all, but anything that can get the word Hull out into the big wide world and remind the world that we exist, that's the main thing. Look at that tiger print. Beautiful stuff. But to get the banners and the badges, real pain in the backside. I had to get someone to do these for me, and then after they did it for me, they then taught me how to do it. Real pain. How cool would it be if I was just able to say, right, okay, I've got a PNG image, and there's a button here that I can press. It opens up my pictures folder on my computer. I select that. That goes in there. Bish, bash, bosh. I have now got a really cool print and stuff. Because, there are factions and, chapters of Space Marines and Chaos Space Marines and such that exist now that didn't exist way back then, or maybe they've got different iconography and such, and it would be really, really cool if a player wants to role-play as them for whatever reason and add, those badges in there. Again, make it easy. Make it able to be done inside the game. That'd be pretty darn rad if I'm not, in my honest, humble opinion. I don't think, some players might really appreciate having more options. I don't know, maybe it's like a helmet button, a gun button, but I think that's, that might be a bit too much. But if it's possible, brilliant, amazing. Also, I don't know, maybe if you could do like a thing where your primary is yellow, but it's also blends in with a different color, so color blending, that'd be cool. I know that in Warhammer Dawn of War 2, there's some options where rather than having the full thing orange, you could do a line down the middle, so one half is orange, the other half could be purple, or whatever colour you fancy. But, stuff like that, that'd be pretty darn neat. Now, for multiplayer, as I mentioned, some people like having their name with little symbols next to them, a little banner next to them. That would be cool, not necessary. That'd be alright. Auto match. That'd be wonderful to be able to fix. You select auto match, and it doesn't work. For obvious reasons, no one's bloody using it. But, hopefully, I don't know, maybe there could be a thing saying estimated wait times, or there could be I don't know, maybe an incentive to use it. Although, mind you, then we're getting into, if you play 5 games on auto match, then you gain a new banner. But then we're getting into territory that I don't think anyone would want, where it's like, if for in-game currency, you can buy a hat for your Space Marine. Or maybe they would, you know what? If that makes you guys more money, and it keeps the game relevant, and it gets you to update the game, whatever. Oh no, I've horse-armored the situation here, boys and girls. I do apologise. Star rating, I like. Number rating, that's all. I don't know what the numbers mean. But, you know, score numbers, that's the thing. I do like how when you click on someone, you see all the games that they've played. It says that I've only apparently played 11 games, which sounds about right to me, but, you know, I don't know, maybe making this more sexier, that'd be cool. For joining games, it'd be cool if you could... Oh, hold on. I see. Now, I've got the LAA turned on, so and Soulstorm Original, no games will turn up. So this is a bad example. Let me just change that. Oh, okay, so I fixed it. Right, so there's a couple of things that could be made as an improvement for this section. I think that, like, say, for example, I'm clicking on this versus AI game, and there's no game rules or version information, which would be incredibly useful to have. Because, I mean, if you join a game, it's like, it's actually a free-for-all, or whatever. I know most people put that in the game name, but let's say, I know they put countdown victories on, and I don't want countdown victories. That would be incredibly useful to have in this section. To join as an observer. Now, the most unintuitive thing, right? You think, well, I'm going to join and then select my role as an observer. Absolutely not. No, you've got to click on this little eye thing here and then click on a game. And then that's you would then double click join the game, and then that's how you would do. I'm not going to randomly join a game to, you know, jump scare anyone. But yes. So I don't know, maybe having the join as observer option being a little bit different. I apologize. Been talking way too long. Might also be cool to know, like, if I click on a thing, it shows all the player names and maybe what factions they're playing as. So I don't know, let's say you see a game and it's like, well, you know what, we've got Mr. John Smith, right? Now, I played against John Smith before. You know what? Don't like him. Called me a noob. Made me feel really, you know, rubbish inside. I know he's in that game. I'm not going to join that game, right? Or maybe there's a player who I played with before, and it's like, I really like that guy. I'll join that game because he's in it. Or it could be a case of, well, I've played 1 million games against Space Marines. Don't want to join that game because it's already got a Space Marine, and I want to join a game where I'm up against orcs or something like that. So I think this window could be really, really optimized to help players find games that they want. It'll also be really handy as well, actually, if rather than having just the Soulstorm games and just the Unification, because obviously to see Unification games, I would have to load up Unification, then get in on this. It'd be really cool if there was just like all the games were here, and then there was like a big symbol saying like, this is a modded game, and in the version info it would say, Ultimate Apocalypse here. And then that way it's like, right, okay, well, if I'm looking for a Unification game, and let's say there aren't that many, I think, well, you know what, I can wait a bit, I don't need to jump in that one straight away, I could play a Soulstorm game, or whatever. I see loads of Soulstorm games. Like, okay, well, I could just, pop back out, change the, game version over, come back on, click on these bad boys, and Bob's your uncle, That would certainly help people keep in the loop, I think. That being said, though, I mean, most people tend to play one thing or the other, so maybe that's not the most important thing to add, but that would be quite useful. That'd be quite useful indeed. Especially for making the mods and other bits and bobs a lot more visible to other people. There might be someone who doesn't know anything about Pro Mod, and they see like 5 games, if they're lucky. And they say, I've never heard of this mod before, but loads of people are playing it. Oh, well, I'm just going to look for this, Pro Mod version, into the Watch Me Doodad in here, and then download it, and then, give it a go, So it's like a internal advertisement for a mod, which would also be quite useful as well. The only other thing I can now think about, really, is how the factions are balanced. Now, I'm sure that there are going to be many people who think that, so-and-so faction is overpowered, they need to be reined in a bit, and, the orcs, they're too strong, they need to be, or whatever, or Necrons are rubbish and they need to be buffed up, whatever, right? There's some people who think that the game needs to be rebalanced. Now, I maybe have some opinions on this, but realistically, I think the game is in a good state at the moment as it is. I'm worried that if there were changes to the factions, the people who played them for a million years will think, oh my goodness, you've broken my faction, and then, I don't know, maybe Relic does this one thing where they update it once and that's it, sayonara, see you guys later, and then the game has changed forever, and it ruins the experience for people who've been playing for 20 odd years, you know. So I don't want to mention anything like that. Other than, there will be one thing that I want to say, and that is, indeed, for the Necrons. So, you know, in Dark Crusade, Tomb Spider comes out, builds attack scarabs. Happy days, they're attacking on the floor as, you know, the God Emperor intended, or whatever, right? In Soulstorm, they are flying units. Absolutely pants, because, you know, you'd only get them if an enemy is going for flying units, and you don't really go for flying units very often against the Necrons anyway. And, you know, you build the scarabs, you kill the flying thing, that's it, they're just rubbish. Floating in the air. Okay, maybe you can use them as some scouting piece, but, you know, no one ever does. It'd be really, really nice if on the Tomb Spider little bit down at the bottom where you can, you know, command him to recycle and build a attack scarab, sorry. It'd be really, really cool if there was an option to build flying attack scarabs and ground attack scarabs. That is literally my only suggestion for balance, just because I think it's a wasted unit, and it'd be really cool if they were added to the floor. So there we go. That is everything that I have to say. I'm sure that I've probably missed out on some things. It's my one shot, one opportunity. Relic, if you want to talk to me directly, you're more than welcome to. Links in the description to the Discord, where you can find me. But I have no expectations or anticipations for that. I am but a humble merchant doing castings and stuff. But for you boys and girls at home, if you've got ideas that I've not mentioned, or you maybe think, Mr. Landshark, that idea that you had, really silly, don't bother with it, then, you know, by all means, we have a respectful community here. We disagree with each other. We agree. We live, we laugh, and we love. But you know what? That's all I have to say. So cheers, boys and girls, for watching, and I'll see you in a bit. Peace!